now to the coronavirus pandemic. As more and more Americans get vaccinated and cities and states continue to lift restrictions, medical professionals have their eyes on the next crisis, a mental health one. Joining us now, we have child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Blaise Aguirre. He is an assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School and medical director at the 3 East Unit at McLean Hospital, along with Dr. Gillian Galen. You know her from Know Your Value. She is a senior child and adolescent psychologist at McLean Hospital and an instructor in psychology at Harvard. They both specialize in dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, a mindfulness-focused therapy that teaches people the skills to manage strong emotions, volatile relationships, and stressful situations. And they are co-authors of the new book entitled DBT For Dummies. And Joe, this is really breakthrough, this book, because DBT, while it may have been focused for specific disorders, what medical professionals and people across America are discovering is that it applies to many people. In fact, it could be mainstreamed in schools and really teach children and young adults and adults emotion regulation.
Well, children as well as politicians in Washington, D.C. I'm serious. As far as any relationship that you're in, you read through this book and you see it's great for relationships. You talk about mindfulness, something, Mika, that you've been talking about for some time. And it really is, this is a wonderful, wonderful and important introduction to a general audience that may not know about DBT. So, Blaise, why don't we start with you? Tell our viewers, if they don't know, what is exactly DBT, and who would DBT help?
Yeah, so DBT was originally a type of therapy that was used to treat highly suicidal people, so people who are really struggling with not wanting to live. And many people didn't want to deal, many therapists didn't want to work with suicidal people. And so this approach, we found that many suicidal people had great difficulty in controlling their emotions. And I mean, you look at Washington, to your point, and many politicians seem to have difficulty controlling their emotions as well. And so what happened was that DBT said that rather than that people won't control their emotions, that they can't control their emotions. So what we're going to do is, rather than put them on a couch and simply talk to them, we're going to teach them how to control their emotions. We're going to teach them how to tolerate difficult moments of distress. We're going to improve their relationships so that they can be more effective through the medium of mindfulness. It was developed by Dr. Marcia Linehan. I think Mika talked about her on Friday at the University of Washington, and really helped people. And so dialectics is the idea, this is the D in dialectics, is that, whenever there's a fight between two people, most of us insist on that I am right and that you are wrong. But dialectics teaches that there's wisdom in each person's position and how to look for that wisdom.
Well, and we've talked about it on this show, actually, Gillian, that in Washington so often there's an either-or debate. In culture, there's an either-or debate. And I always use, just because it seems to me the easiest example for our viewers to grasp, the 1776 debate versus the 1619 debate. Dialectical thinking says you can hold both beliefs in your mind, both can be true at the same time, and one can actually complement the other if you use dialectical thinking. I think it's fascinating, though. DBT actually started as an approach to helping people who were suicidal, because the one approach was counselors saying, oh, everything's going to be okay, you're going to be better. They knew that wasn't the truth. And then the other side was, okay, things are going to be terrible and you're going to be basically stuck with this for all. And it's talk about the balancing of those two failed approaches and how DBT came out of it.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, Linehan was very passionate about treating women who were suicidal and not, as Blaise talked about, really not treatable. And this idea with dialectics is we work on the dialectic of acceptance and change, right? So typically there was, change how you think, change what you do, and then you change how you feel. And that just didn't work. For a lot of people, that didn't work. That felt like you don't understand the pain that I'm experiencing. You're just saying it's a very simple solution. And so really what Marcia came up with was like, we'll just balance accepting where people are and then moving them towards change by teaching them skills, right? So we're accepting how difficult they are, whether, again, they're struggling now with suicidality, eating disorders, substance use, just general difficulties in regulating emotions that impact how they are in relationships. And we say, we're going to teach you a set of skills. We're going to teach you mindfulness skills so that you can be present. We're going to teach you distress tolerance skills so that you can tolerate those moments of distress and move through them in a way that you can be effective. We're going to teach you emotion regulation skills. What do you do to increase and decrease the intensity of your emotions? And then we're going to teach you interpersonal effectiveness skills, because often if you struggle with regulating emotions, you struggle with that idea of dialectical thinking, and then that impacts your relationships, right? It becomes very difficult to hold different perspectives, navigate disagreements, and build those important relationships in your life.
So some celebrities who have used DBT, Selena Gomez, Lady Gaga, who we actually had a discussion with it about her here on MSNBC, and Brandon Marshall. Blaise, I know the specific conditions it's used for: post-traumatic stress, substance abuse, binge eating disorder, some of the examples of how DBT can treat certain disorders. But really, and what you teach in this book is that DBT can help anybody who is struggling in their relationships. And it starts by understanding the way the mind works and how the mind often doesn't work so well when it's in a highly emotional state. And that applies to relationships that are causing you stress because you're in emotion mind, mostly in those difficult situations. Can you explain how it works?
Sure. I think it's a fundamental principle of the brain that it cannot think until it's regulated. So if your house is on fire, having a discourse on Socrates probably isn't going to work at that time because you're so dysregulated. So you have to regulate before you can reflect. And so one of the things that often happens is we see a kid who is maybe upset. And what we do is we tell them to calm down. And it's not like the kid says, oh, my God, like that's the best idea ever. I should actually calm down. Because DBT presupposes that a person doesn't have the skill set to be able to calm down, or if they are dysregulated, that in that moment they don't know how to calm down or how to use the skills. So, but none of us can think when we're upset, not a single person. And so it teaches the ability to regulate so that then you can use a lot of other strategies. But if you haven't learned that as a child, it's going to be much more difficult to learn as an adult. I mean, it's like a language. If you learn a language as a child, you're much more likely to be able to use it later on. But we often wait too late, and then we sort of blame people for not being able to regulate their emotions.
Yeah. You know, Gillian, another skill set that could be used in Washington, but one that is so important to DBT is radical acceptance. Talk about why letting go of judgments of other people in your family, with relationships. Maybe it is at the workplace. Maybe it is in Congress for a lot of people watching right now. But why is it so important? Radical acceptance, why is that so important to your own mental health?
Yeah. So this is a great question. I love talking about judgment. So I'll sort of tackle the judgment one first. So this idea of judgments, we use judgments all the time, right? There's a shorthand. It's taking a larger concept and it's paring it down into one word, right? Something is good, something is bad, something is pretty, something is ugly, something should or shouldn't be how it is right now, right? So it's taking a large concept and paring it down. Now, generally positive judgments, they don't cause us too many problems. By nature, what judgments do is they leave out information, right? So if you ask me how my weekend was and I say my weekend was good, you know the general gist of my weekend, but you actually have no idea what I did, right? So what I did, which might be good to me, you might have no idea about, right? So positive judgments don't tend to cause us too many difficulties. Negative judgments are a different story. So when we judge ourselves or our feelings negatively, like we might say, I shouldn't be that upset, I'm being dramatic, or you should get over this, or you're being dramatic, we tend to feel worse, right? So what it does is it tends to perpetuate that very feeling of, upset or anger or sadness or whatever that feeling is within ourselves. And when we think about what Blaise had just talked about, when we enhance those problematic or really painful, difficult feelings, we make it hard to think, right? So we tend to be then less effective in both thinking about what we can do to help ourselves, or maybe being able to step back and think about either what do I need or what should I do to solve the problem that's in front of me that is causing me some level of distress. Now, when we use negative judgments towards other people, right, we also tend to suffer, right? Because what we end up doing is actually like fueling the very challenging. So if we're really angry at somebody, we tend to judge them, right? They're so short-sighted. How could they do this, right? We go on and on and on. We perpetuate our own anger, and then it actually makes us more dysregulated, right? Makes it harder for us to think, but it also makes it nearly impossible for us to take that dialectical position and think about, like, how did this person get to the position that they're at, and how do we move forward?
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.